Hey, Joel, I'm curious. What percentage of fat is in a diet? I mean, you're giving them all fresh fruits and vegetables and some soups, et cetera, et cetera. But have you ever, figured out like how many carbs are in a diet? Grams of protein, carbs, and fats, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Because believe it or not, one of the most striking findings in the last decade in the history of nutritional science has been like the Adventist Health Study 2 that has 17 other studies corroborating the fact that more nuts and seeds in the diet and more of the fat from nuts and seeds lead to a 39% reduction of cardiovascular death. Right. Points. And that's been reproduced in study after study. And that these low-fat diets and cutting out all the fat is more likely to promote irregular heartbeats. And we know that in the Physician's Health Study, you had a 60% reduction in sudden cardiac death in people eating an ounce of nuts and seeds daily. So, and the fifth quintile, the highest quintile of the Seventh-day Adventist study, compared to the first quintile, showed the most beneficial effects on longevity. And they were eating about more than 1.4 ounces per day of nuts and seeds. So we strive for about a half an ounce of nuts and seeds with each meal. So people are eating even my overweight patients are getting an ounce and a half of nuts and seeds a day. And me, for example, doing more exercise and I'm eating more like 3 ounces a day of nuts and seeds. But my patients are probably eating that are here are probably, unless there's a teenager here or some person who's not overweight, just enjoying the food, they can have more. But most of the people who are overweight are getting an ounce and a half, because that's what the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study 2 showed were the most positive effects. And that was in all cohorts, men, women, old, young, Caucasian, Asian, whatever it was, vegan, non-vegan. It held through all cohorts that the inclusion of nuts and seeds, and especially walnuts, and so we're giving them some degree of fat. Right. Their diet is not one of these super low-fat diets. Like, I don't strive for 10% of fat or low. They're probably getting more like 20% of calories from fat.
Oh, I love it. I mean, you're singing to the choir. As a heart specialist, I believe in I think the high carbohydrate diet is really the most inflammatory diet. I'm interested in your thoughts about the Predimed study, because the Predimed study, looked at, nuts and seeds, and it's a third of those people got nuts and seeds, and a third got 4 tablespoons of olive oil a day. And then the other group got the American Heart Association diet.
Right, exactly.
Stroke, cancer, heart disease went way down in the people getting the higher fat diet as well.
That's right. And the nut and seed diet got even more protective effects than the olive oil did.
Yeah, so, slightly more protective. You're correct, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So most nutritional scientists agree that walnuts are better than walnut oil, and sesame seeds are better than sesame oil, and almonds are better than almond oil. So that's the unique part of the nutritarian diet, is making sauces and recipes. Instead of the oil, we use the whole nut or seed to make these sauces and dressings that really taste great. So we're really switching. And oil is more fattening. Even, oil, it doesn't trigger the apostat receptors in the hypothalamus like the nuts and seeds do. And all the calories in nuts and seeds are not biologically accessible, because the sterols and the stanols attract fat and pull some of that fat into the toilet bowl. So it gives you the signals you ate all those calories, but then eventually they don't all biologically enter the bloodstream. So what I'm saying right now is that oil increases your desire for more calories as an appetite stimulant. And nuts and seeds do the opposite. There's a very opposite effect. So we switch the fat from oil to whole foods, including, low sodium olives and a little avocado dip and stuff like that. So we do use those kind of healthy fats in the diet and get remarkable results doing so. Now, and the other second finding that's so important is it showed that all plant-based diets were very different, in that adding more protein in the form of plant protein like soybean, hemp seeds, Mediterranean pine nuts, broccoli florets. We're talking here about that more plant protein enhanced longevity, whereas more animal protein decreased longevity. And it showed that the lower protein, lower fat plant diets like fruitarian diets, macrobiotic diets, high carb potato-based plant diets do not have the same beneficial effects on longevity as a diet that pays more attention to protein with beans and nuts and greens and other high protein plant foods. So once you move plant-based like this, then paying attention to the higher protein plant foods do have a beneficial effect.
How do you feel about lentils and chickpeas, for example, in a diet?
Yes, I love lentils and chickpeas, but lentils are an incredible food because that's an important part of the diet.
Because you don't get the insulin response as well with lentils.
That's right. When you have these beans are very high in resistant starch and slowly digestible carbohydrates. The slow digestible starches, the resistant starch promote the growth of good bacteria that create a biofilm over the villi that now slow the glycation. Scientists call that the second meal effect, which means when you have a mango or something you ate at a follow-up meal, the glycemic effect of the mango is lowered because you ate the beans and the lentils, which caused the coating to occur on the villi, which slows the glycemic effect of other foods at a follow-up meal. But what I'm saying right now is, yes, it's not just that they have slowly digestible starches, but the resistant starches make all their calories not biologically accessible because the resistant starches are converted by bacteria into short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate.
Right.
And butyrate has not only anti-inflammatory effects, but it has a negative feedback loop on the apostat in the hypothalamus and makes you want to eat less calories. So because the calories from lentils and most beans only enter the bloodstream at 1 or 2 calories a minute, you don't have a spike in insulin like you would have if you ate potatoes or rice.
Right.